Hi, my name is Chris Davis, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Psychology here at Carleton. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the kinds of research projects that go on in my lab. I have three main lines of research. The first one, and the oldest one, concerns how people move on from life-changing experiences. And most of the experiences that we've looked at in our lab are sudden, unexpected losses or sudden and unexpected traumas that strike. And our question of interest is how do you pick up the pieces of your life? How do you go from being happily connected in your family to losing a family member? How do you pick up those pieces and move on from that? One of the things that we've looked at in particular is how people search for meaning and hopefully find some meaning and ultimately perceive some benefit from that experience. We've been looking at this in a number of different populations. People lost a sudden infant from a sudden infant death syndrome, people losing a loved one in a car accident. We did a study of the West Ray mine explosion, the families that lost loved ones in that explosion in Nova Scotia a number of years ago. These are typically extended interviews with individuals as opposed to experimental work, we've looked at the role of families, the role of social support, and various other factors related to that. The second line of research that I've been involved in the past few years comes from an idea that one of my PhD students proposed to me a few years ago. And her argument was that when you enter a difficult situation, a challenge that you've never faced before, it really pays not to necessarily be optimistic, but to have a balanced orientation, and we call this a realistic orientation. People who have a realistic orientation approach novel, stressful situations not simply by imagining success, imagining how they can overcome this challenge, but having a balanced view where you consider not just how easy it'll be, how you'll succeed, but also what are some of the hurdles, what are some of the challenges that you'll face. And in our initial study with Anne-Marie, the student who proposed this idea, we studied first-time expectant mothers and asked their sense of what they expected once their baby was born. Did they imagine success, holding a beautiful baby, doing sweet baby things, or did they have a more balanced approach, that they recognized that they were going to lose a lot of sleep, that that delivery was not going to be a piece of cake, and so on and so forth. When we followed up with these mothers after the baby was born, what we found is that those who had a realistic orientation had a smoother transition, especially when there were difficulties that came up unexpectedly. So being prepared for the worst, but also hoping for the best, seems to be an adaptive strategy. The third line of research that I've been involved in the past few years comes from another graduate student recently graduated. Jennifer we had been looking at the accuracy of self-reports with respect to alcohol and drug consumption. And one thing that we were finding with national surveys of alcohol and drug use is that the amount of consumption that people are reporting in nationally representative samples that they consume didn't match up at all with actual sales amounts. So it suggests a lot of people are understating how much alcohol or how much drugs they're using. We wanted to get a sense at who's not telling us the truth and what we can do to change the way these questions are asked in a way to increase the report so that they come closer to what actually the sales data suggests that they are. So we've identified a group of individuals who we call impression managers, who are motivated to put across a good impression. So when you ask them questions about sensitive behavior, they want to respond the right way, the socially appropriate way, so they will underestimate, we think, the amount of alcohol that they report using, for example. We've tried a number of manipulations to survey designs to see if we can increase the rates at which these high impression managers report doing these behaviors. So far we've had a bit of success, but but typically it's with those who are low impression managers. So if we change the response format of the scale, we can affect people who are low impression managers. We have a lot more difficulty trying to change the self-report estimates by those who are high impression managers. So we're continuing this line of research, looking at ways to make self-report a lot more accurate. At this point, those are the three main areas of research that my students and I are engaged with. And I'm always open to new ideas that have a connection to these particular research programs.